Hey everybody, what's going on? It's me, Double D, and today I want to talk about the up-and-coming stuff in patch 11.2. Now, if you've been keeping an eye on any of this news, the absolute barrage of news that has been hitting this WoW ecosystem, you'll know that there's no shortage of information right now, and people digesting all of it. What raids we're going to be doing, who we're going to be playing with, what are the features that we can expect, why is there an absolutely gigantic purple mass monster sitting over Stormwind. A lot of unanswered questions right now that I'm sure we will know more later when this hits in a couple months, but man, there is a lot of information and a lot to dive into. And a lot of it looks really good. I'm really excited for it. I like the aesthetic. I like ethereals. I think all the void and shadow elements and everything, all that shit absolutely bangs. Also, just a real quick side note, I am sorry if I seem a little bit out of it, but it is demonically hot inside my house because summer sucks. But I'm gonna try to get through this video without sweating through the entirety of my shirt, but I can already feel the water dripping down the back of my ass, so we may not have too much longer. But actually what I want to drill down into for this video is specifically the delves experience. Now, I've made a few videos about delves at this point, but there's one thing in particular that I'm really glad they keep coming back to. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the way that the season end boss for delves works, this is how it is. So in Season 1, you had Zekvir, and in Season 2, you had the Underpin. This is a solo instance challenge where you can go in with your best friend Bran and bang out against a boss, though it can be pretty challenging. Now, the extent to as what is challenging about it seems to have varied pretty greatly, as far as like white hits smacking you in the face or trying to kick foot bombs on top of a big ass boss model, and they're very hard to click or interact with or get to go in the right direction when there's a bunch of shit going on. But nonetheless, there are a couple of difficulties available for one. One is the intro difficulty. You go in, you see all the mechanics, and you just kind of smack it out. The second one is where you kind of got to pay a little bit more attention unless you play a tank class, and you got to go in there and make sure you execute all the mechanics and just pay attention for like 7, 8, 10 minutes, whatever it is, depending on your Jesse DPS. Those end-game bosses are a nice little solo challenge for you to overcome, and it's perfect for the delves. In my opinion, it's a great little end cap for them in the season, and this gives you a challenge to overcome, and once you've knocked it out, hey great, awesome, stay tuned for the next season when you get another challenge to overcome. It can be pretty rewarding. It feels like a nice little aspirational goal to have. And now what I think looks really good about this up-and-coming season is that they're using Kaiveza. Now, if you don't know who Kaiveza is, it's one of the raid bosses from Nerebar Palace, the first raid tier of the War Within. And she was, I think, basically the best one. It was my favorite boss by a long shot. A lot of my friends and guildies share the same opinion. And not to say that because we all think she was great, she was actually great, especially when you have her next to someone like Brood Twister. But unironically and objectively, I do think that that boss is a great example of a modern day WoW raid boss that doesn't have a lot of the modern day WoW raid problems baked into it. Things like weak aura issues, waiting for people to press macros correctly or read a map correctly or do any of that shit. It's more so just like a little dance with a pretty tight check, and once you execute that dance, it just feels very rhythmic. But that boss really encapsulated what I enjoy a lot about bosses in general, and that's why I'm really excited to see it coming back as the Delve boss. And I hope that in it coming back as a solo player experience, it doesn't carry with it some new weird shitty foot bomb mechanic that I have to deal with or something like that. But you know, I hope they really do just lift it and drop it right in as a solo fight for me to overcome, because I really enjoyed that fight. I thought it was excellent, and this is the type of implementation for delves that I really hope they maintain and use going forward. Of course, I would like to see new bosses be introduced, or specifically delve unique bosses, and not necessarily every single one of them pull from a raid, but this type of fight with this type of implementation and mechanics that I expect going into it is the type of thing that I'm excited to see, because it feels fair, it feels tough, and when both of those things are true, it feels pretty rewarding for me personally. And I think for a lot of other people too, especially if you're one of the people who already like that fight. And now I've talked a lot about delves in the past and what I think they do right and what I think they do wrong, but this is one of the features that I'm genuinely excited about in the next patch. And there's a ton of information out there right now, but yet here I am, and the video that I want to make and what I want to talk about is how cool I thought Kaiveza was and how glad I am she's returning as a boss for delves because I get to do it again. And that's not something that I think I would often say, that I'm excited about doing something again. As someone who gets annoyed if I have to do a bunch of extra dungeons for Gilded Crest or repeated world events and world quests for Valor Stones or farm out a mount and the only reasonable way to do it is to kill 10 million bees in the first 2 weeks of the expansion because there's not shit else to do and your wife wants a bee mount and you're gonna deliver. I am not someone who is gonna be like, hell yeah, this is really tight that we get to go back and redo shit we already did. But in this case, I am one of those people that is excited to go back and do shit I already did because I think it's well done. I even put on real pants for this video. Now, while I'm gassing them up about the end of Delve boss for the next season and what's coming in 11.2 and how I think it's really great, I do just want to take this opportunity to quickly say that the other half of Delves, the other end of the spectrum for what you're doing when it's not fighting a big solo boss, I do just want to make some suggestions here on the off chance that one of the 300 people who will see this video, maybe you're on the Delve design team. I think there's still a lot more opportunity to, kind of tweak the other end of the Delve experience. All the other Delves. The ones where you're filling objective quotas and they kind of seem like the world events and the world quests or any other thing in the open world because it all just kind of runs together into one big mushy mud pile of samey content. Real quick thought experiment, right? If you have ever played A Way Out, or It Takes Two, or Split Fiction, one of the things that game does, they hit you with like 10 to 20 different styles and genres of games. It doesn't have to be just from that developer in particular, it's just on my mind because I played it recently. But take like Mario Party, for example. There's a lot of different little mini games within Mario Party, right? And you could apply that same type of logic to WoW's Delves. It could all be still housed under the WoW umbrella, everything that it's going for story-wise, thematically, what you're doing, but take these little elements of different genres and pepper it in there to kind of spice up the experience and make it different from all the other PvE content that already exists. But if you approach it with the, let's do WoW's take on this genre for this delve, maybe that's a new direction that can have a little bit of excitement, and I think delves are the best delivery system for that because they are built on being dynamic and flexible, scalable a little bit in difficulty, and you have a companion to do it alongside. All that being said, do want to say this shit absolutely bangs. It's got me excited enough that I'm sitting here sweating my ass off inside this room talking about how I'm gonna pal around with Bran a little bit more. And if you've been keeping an eye on the PTR, some of that data mining, it looks like there may be a title that basically ends up taking your name and you becoming a Bronzebeard. And that's, I don't know about you, it sounds pretty cool because I think Bran would make a pretty good wife. Sounds like delves are getting a little hot. Hot, like this room is hot. Like, dear God, it is so hot, dude. What is going on? Summer sucks. I hate nature. This entire planet feels like it's on fire. Why did people stop here? This has to be what it feels like to sit in Stranglethorn Vale, except less people stabbing you. Or more. I don't know. I can't fathom how my ancestors stopped here. It's like the same thing with the orcs going through the dark portal, When they ended up on Azeroth and you're looking around in like Durotar and stuff, You know, like, that's even on a different content. I'm not even in the same place. Look, I'm just saying that the orcs ended up in Durotar, and they said, yep, this is as cool as it could be. Like, Ashara was right there. Ashenvale, right there. Like, yeah, there's some elves and stuff, but you're an orc, just beat the shit out of them. Like, dude, what am I, a lore guy now? 11.2's got me fucked up. Anyway, Ethereals are fucking cool. God, that race fucking bangs. If they announce that Ethereals are going to be a playable race in 11.2, I'm calling it now. It's gonna. They don't even have to release another fucking class or like race class combos or anything like that. If they release races of Ethereals in the next expansion in Midnight, whatever it is, if they announce them, people are gonna. That's gonna be a lot of shark mouth dudes going, yeah, gamers, rise, or whatever we do. What am I talking about? This video is about delves. Dude, I have gone off the rails. This is what heat exhaustion is. Oh my god. What the fuck are we doing?